Right, I am back from South Carolina, and we are doing the UFC 309 recap today. Jones versus Miocic. I went 7-5 on the card, bringing my overall record to 297 and 178. So did all right, not too great. Man, I should have called the Viviani Araujo fight, but it is what it is. Yeah. Jones gets his win. I'm gonna do the recap of the whole thing right now. My voice is a little bit hoarse, so if I'm running through it pretty quickly, I just want to make sure that I can get a couple of videos out for you guys this week, and my voice is rested so I can keep pumping them out. Yeah, by now we know how the story goes. I go on vacation for a weekend, and I come back, and I can barely talk through this stuff. But don't worry, guys. We're going to get through this as promised, and we're going right away with the early prelim opener, and it was Eduardo Mora versus Veronica Hardy. Did call this underdog pick, and dare I say, called it perfectly. I said Eduardo Mora was going to win this fight with her grappling and her physicality. I thought Veronica Hardy was a little too small, and even for the flyweight division, Eduardo Mora is going to go in there looking much bigger than her and be able to just get her takedowns and squeak out these rounds. But I actually thought Eduardo Mora did decent on the feet as well. She landed some of the stronger punches. She did get outlanded by Veronica Hardy, but in terms of the power, it definitely went to Eduardo Mora. She was just more physical in there, got her takedowns and won the rounds. It was decent performance. Feel really good about that one that I called it to a T. It was a good underdog pick. Moving on, Basel Hafez, Oban Elliott. Called this one as well. I didn't call the round 3 KO. I think I called Oban to win by a decision. But Oban Elliott looked really good. I have no idea how a judge gave Basel Hafez 2 rounds. I got an idea, but I'm not going to say it on YouTube because people will call me a certain name and I don't want to deal with it. Yeah, dude, I just don't think Basel Hafez is that good. Like, this guy clearly had his best performance against Jack Della Maddalena, debatably on roids for that performance, because he just looks way different now, but goes out there and he just gets knocked out stiff by Oban Elliott, and I really do like Oban Elliott. Big fan. Love the way he talks his shit on the mic. The Welsh gangster. He's got the Chael Sonnen stamp of approval, and that means a lot to me. Because we all love Chael. I mean, it's the only undefeated fighter the UFC has ever seen other than Khabib, but like Khabib left because he knew he was probably going to lose at some point in his future, where Chael Sonnen never lost a second. Now that I'm done talking about absolutely nothing, Oban Elliott's performance was really good. I thought he was faster in the striking. He was much better. Every round I gave him. I didn't think there was a single round that went to Basel Hafez. Apparently one of the judges thought he got 2 of them. Don't know how you can possibly see that when Oban Elliott is faster, landing the better punches. And like, dude, Basel Hafez just... I don't know, dude. He doesn't look that good to me. Oban Elliott was able to blast a couple of those kicks, and I like the front kicks he was able to land and the kicks to the oblique. They were a little bit different, but they were effective. And then with his hands, he was just beating Basel Hafez to the punch. Had a good high guard, but was able to counter anytime Basel Hafez wanted to throw anything, and Basel Hafez really struggled in this fight. So, great performance from Oban Elliott. We get to that 3rd round, and Oban Elliott just lands a stiff right hand that sits Basel Hafez down, and then he lands violent ground and pound that just puts Basel Hafez out cold. Basel Hafez tries to stand up, falls over. I don't know what the officials are doing and the referees are doing, letting these guys try and stand up. You need a stool in there immediately so they can just get right to sitting on the stool, because if you try and stand up, he just got knocked out flat. He's going to fall over, and it's not a good look. So don't know what the professionalism is here. I don't know, man. We got problems with officiating. We'll talk about that when we get to round 5 of Chandler Oliveira. There's a big problem I have with Keith Peterson. And I now have a big problem with Mike Chandler's cheating ass, because this is a little bit too much for me to defend. But we'll get there. Oban Elliott, great knockout. Then we go to Mickey Gall. I don't know why in my mind I would have thought Mickey Gall could have won. I know Brahimaj sucks, but Mickey Gall just made him look really good. Mickey Gall was slow, couldn't land anything powerful. Anytime his chin got touched, he was getting hurt. And Ramiz Brahimaj was able to take those pillow-fisted punches from Mickey Gall. So Brahimaj gets a good win. And just beat Mickey Gall to the punch every time. Landed more volume, landed more power. And it was a good performance from Brahimaj. I would love to see what he does against a... Because this guy's last couple fights have been weird, because he took a long time off. Then he fights Themba and gets smudged by Themba. And then we see Themba fight other people. And while he does kind of smudge them, like, he's had performances where he's able to get off more. Pause. But in this one, he was able to just go off And when he fought Themba, he at least made Themba not able to throw a ton. It was strictly a clinch fest. So guess we'll see where Brahimaj goes from here, but he gets his knockout. Really, really good punch. Good win. It was over Mickey Gall, though, so it is what it is. We'll see what happens next. Moving on. Jonata Diaz and Marcin Tybura. Now, Jonata Diaz landed some good shots early, landed a good high kick that had me going, oh shit. And then he had a couple punches that had me going, oh shit. But the grappling worked out much better for Marcin Tybura here. It did. He was able to get into the grappling at the end of the first round, control the position, get to round 2, and he pretty much gets that takedown kind of early and then just starts laying absolutely violent ground and pound. Round 1 wasn't violent ground and pound. It was little shots, cheeky shots to get position, get what he needed to get done to win the round. Really spent a lot of time more in control and landing pitter-patter shots. But then we get to round 2. And Tybura, while he has control and is landing some pitter-patters, he eventually gets to a mount position and postures up in just the last 30 seconds. He is raining down elbows, punches, splits Jonata Diaz open really, really bad to the point where you're like, dude, this fight goes on for 5 more seconds. It is getting stopped. So, I really would like to see some of these more in-shape guys just look better. And I say in shape, like Jonata Diaz he's more athletic. Even though he is still pudgy, he's more athletic. It's just some of these dudes coming over from kickboxing, they have a ton of potential, and then they just don't know how to get a basic underhook. Like, that's what we're looking, a whizzer, an underhook, something. If you're in the grappling, try and disengage and not engage. Find a way to get back to your feet. I get you're fighting a guy in Marcin Tybura who is the perennial top 10 of the guy of the division right now, and I can't believe I'm saying that about Marcin Tybura, but Tybura did what he had to do to win, and not everyone's going to be Alex. That's what we learned. Not everyone's going to be Alex Pereira coming over from kickboxing and just be able to put on a tremendous performance. So, good performance from Tybura. Diaz had some moments, but it just didn't work out for him. We'll see him bounce back. Let's not give him Derek Lewis. I'd like to see Derek Lewis win. Maybe we do Tybura versus Derek Lewis. Stay tuned for matchmaking, which will come out tomorrow. But we're going to move on to David Onama. I got that one wrong, by the way. So, I was 2-2 to that point. Now we're on Onama versus Romero. I picked Onama. He won. I think it was 29-28. I think round 1, Roberto Romero should have won. He knocked down David Onama much worse than David Onama knocked him down, and Roberto Romero was landing those really good low kicks in the beginning. Thought he won round 1. Came out like a bat out of hell and looked really fast, really crisp, just in there to go and win the fight. And that's what you want to see from one of these dudes that come up on short notice against a really tough opponent in David Onama. He didn't sit there and play victim like a Cody Brundage would. Cody Brundage catching a stray. But, he went out there to go win the fight, and round 1 looked really good for him. Now, round 2 and 3, David Onama ended up just beating him to the punch, taking over. Roberto Romero did make it competitive in those rounds, but Onama was eventually doing more. His shots were rocketing. You could hear him around the whole stadium, I swear. He was just hitting some really good shots. Things up close he was able to land too. And then when he wanted to implement the grappling, he showed that he has strong grappling as well. He almost had a submission in round 1, but wasn't fully locked in. Romero was able to get out. But Onama showed me a pretty good performance. He was fighting a guy that no one really knew how dangerous he was until he got in there. And Roberto Romero really put it on David Onama and made David Onama show that, all right, dude, I've been in the sport longer. I got to dial it in. And in round 2 and 3, he dialed it in, went out there and got the win. Crazy that Roberto Romero can knock down David Onama in round 1 and then dominate that round, and all judges just didn't give it to him. I get it, Onama kind of got a knockdown back, but I thought Roberto Romero's was more like, holy shit. Whereas Onama's was like, yeah, he kind of followed that up and he had the couple minutes at the end of the round, but is what it is. Good performance from Onama. And then we move on. Another underdog pick here, Jim Miller. The second this fight started, you guys should have known that Jim Miller was going to win. It's a weird place for me to stop and take a pause for a drink, but Jim Miller's just better than him, dude. He hits harder. The only way you probably could have thought that Damon Jackson won is, well, he can out-grapple an older Jim Miller. Do you guys forget Jim Miller's like a very good grappler? He has a ton of submissions. That Armin guillotine is one that he likes to lock up. He's had moments where he was hitting Damon Jackson really hard, and Damon Jackson ended up saying, shit, I want to go for the takedown. And the second he did that, it was a dumb, lazy takedown, and Jim Miller latched up the arm and guillotine. Gets to 45 total fights in the UFC. Or, sorry, 40. Yeah, it's 45 in the UFC, I believe. He wants to get to 50, I believe he said. Sorry. Or is it 25 and 30? I don't remember. Guys. I was a little banged up. But he wants to get to 50 fights, I think, or 30. I don't remember which number he used. But Dana White obliged in the post-fight press conference, and Jim Miller continues his streak, man. It's not Octagon time. I think he has most wins or most finishes in lightweight with Charles Oliveira, or one away from Charles Oliveira. But Jim Miller's perennial, dude. He's 40 years old. He's still going out there and winning, and I'm okay with him continuing to fight. He looked really good in this fight. Let's just not give him killers. Like, I don't want to see him go in there and fight Paddy Pimblett. Like, no. Let him fight someone more his speed, like a Damon Jackson, because he'll go out there and he'll perform. Great win from Jim Miller, and then Damon Jackson retired. Sad to see, yeah, but I think it was the right thing to do at this point. But I don't know. They make all the decisions that they want to do. It is what it is. Jim Miller won. I fucking told you so. Underdog pick nailed. Speaking of underdog pick nailed, didn't nail this one. I did have Marcus McGee winning this fight 29-28. The first round, Marcus McGee looks like a murderer. Like, I sit there and I'm watching this. I'm like, this dude is literally going to give top 5 guys a problem. Landing really well, great defense, good power, in and out fast, makes Martinez freeze. Martinez just stopped throwing things, and now you realize, you're like, well, dude, he didn't really throw much against Aldo, but you're like, did Aldo kind of shut him down too? So it's one of those things that when you're fighting Jonathan Martinez, you can kind of look for. Just try confusing him with enough stuff and hit him with good enough power where, like, you might be able to shut him down and make him think too long, and the rounds just kind of get away. That's what happened in the first round. Marcus McGee gave him a lot of different reads and hit him with a lot of powerful shots, to the point where Martinez was more focused on playing defense and getting off the shots that he wanted. Wasn't throwing enough leg kicks. He needed to do that more. Round 2 comes around, and it's the same thing. Marcus McGee's really just outlanding and beating the piss out of Jonathan Martinez, sadly. But at the end of the round, Martinez lands a really good low kick. And at the end of this round, Martinez is now starting to realize, dude, like, I gotta go. So he starts going, has a pretty good end of the round, but Marcus McGee's still winning it, and Martinez ends up blasting a kick that does hurt and make Marcus McGee limp at the end of that round. Still Marcus McGee's round, still wins. Round 3 comes around. Jonathan Martinez kicks his leg, and he limps like 15 seconds into the round. Marcus McGee's limping, like, you're like, oh my god, he gets that leg kicked like 5 more times. He's not going to be able to walk. So what does Jonathan Martinez do? He engages in the clinch for a couple minutes. You can't make this stuff up. Engages in the clinch and doesn't do anything like throw knees to the... There were opportunities for him to blast knees to the thigh to at least keep it ringing for Marcus McGee. He didn't do that. I was screaming at the TV. I'm like, dude, blast knees at his thigh when his leg is crumbled. You're going to be able to hurt him. Anyway, he doesn't. They end up getting in this clinch situation for 2 minutes. They separate. It gives Marcus McGee a little time to like switch his stances, and then Martinez starts beating up the other leg. Marcus McGee switches stances back. Every time Martinez kicked the lead leg, so it being his, because Marcus McGee was a southpaw, it being his right leg, dude, that leg was just crushed. But eventually, like, Jonathan Martinez didn't give himself enough time to shut the leg off fully because he engaged in the clinch. So it was a good performance for Marcus McGee. He wasn't really addressing the leg kicks, but the only guy that's addressed them has been Jose Aldo. No one else is addressing them. Everyone's having a really hard time with it. So Jonathan Martinez has some absolute dynamite in like his shins because he just shuts everyone's leg off. But dude, if this guy wants to like seriously climb up the division, he's got to find a way to just continue to blast those and not get shut down. But what we'll say is Marcus McGee's a damn problem, dude. Very excited to see what he does moving up in this division. Dare I say, put him in there to beat the piss out of Mario Batista. Just saying. Marcus McGee, good win. Jonathan Martinez, I think he's going to go back and look at this fight and say, damn, there was more that I could have done. And I expect Jonathan Martinez to turn his career back around. And he's coming off 2 losses now in a row. I think we're going to see a Jonathan Martinez 3-fight win streak coming up. I'm calling it now. Marcio Ruffy versus James Longtop. Good win for Marcio Ruffy. He looked really good at points, but there were also times where like he left a little bit to be desired, and maybe it's just because I was expecting him to get a finish. But I did say, like, James Lontop's got a hell of a chin. We've seen him go in there with a great striker in Slavaclaus and survive it. Have his own moments. James Lontop's got a hell of a chin, but now he's 0-3 in the UFC. Probably going to get cut. Marcio Ruffy looked good, but am I the only one that thinks we should have seen a little bit more? Maybe not even a finish, but like don't lose a round to James Lontop. If you're going to be a guy that we're saying, dude, he's the next McGregor, the way he fights, his style, unless you're knocking people out in the first round every time you fight, you're not the next Conor McGregor. No, I think Ruffy's still got a little bit of improvement to do. I think he looks good. He's still got a little improvement to do, still got some ways to go. I don't think he's ready for ranked comp. I think he's got another fight or two before we can start looking at that. He's a name to keep your eye out for, but I don't want to say he lost aura. But before this fight, I said, dude, this guy is already top 15 level. Now I saw this fight and I go, he's not top 15 level just yet. He loses to I think he can lose to Paddy Pimblett. Like, I do. I don't think that's an egregious thing to say, but you'll have people in the comments that are just pretending to be too hardcore, that Ruffy's literally the best fighter in the division. He's very good, and he's from a great gym, so he's going to keep getting better. But this was one of those performances where you look and you go, okay, he's beatable. There are ways to beat this guy. But it was a good performance. He won. He looked good. James Lontop missed a lot of shots because that's just, the head moving Marcio Ruffy's good. The no-look left hook, too, was nuts. You can't do that when you get to the top 15, though. Unless you're Max Holloway, it's going to be really hard to do when you get to the top 15. But Marcio Ruffy gets the win. Good. Really fun fight, by the way. This card was pretty good, up until we get to the main card after this, because this was a banger of a fight. Great finish. This fight was a banger. This fight was pretty entertaining because of the damage that was getting done. This was a good finish. Great finish. Terrible fight. But the card had a lot of momentum. And then we get to Vivian Araujo won. I think it was the right decision. Karine Silva just left a little bit to be desired in there. Yeah, I'm not going to really do a big breakdown on this. I think Araujo won 2-1. I think she won rounds 1 and 3. I think it was really that simple. Or no, maybe it was 2 and 3. I don't know. Don't remember. Don't care. Back of my mind. Why are they on the main card? Can someone explain that to me? Because if we put Martinez on this card, if we had Martinez and McGee in their spot, it would have made the event feel better. Probably would have sold even more pay-per-views. No one was buying pay-per-views because Karine Silva and our Viviane Araujo was going at it. How much of a play does Disney have in here? By the way, we need to talk about something. Donald Trump's walkout was electric. Just saying it. Electric. Absolutely electric. Walks out, the stadium's going nuts. He gives Joe Rogan the big hug. The whole broadcast is hugging him. Everyone's saying hello, greeting him. He is beloved in this community. It's honestly, it's amazing. It is it was good. It was honestly really, really good to see. Just it felt like there was a little bit of unification for once, dare I say. Sure, I'll lose a couple subscribers because of that, but it is what it is. It's just what it felt like. Great walkout. The crowd went electric. Very well received. They literally, the broadcast was literally on pause for 5 minutes. For Trump to just talk to everyone. No one's on the mic. You're just sitting there staring and cheering. But anyway, we're going to move on to Bo Nickel. I'm not going to say I'm jumping off the bandwagon. I expected a lot more from Bo. Now, his striking looked better. He outstruck Paul Craig in every round. He won 30-27. But another fight where I want to see more, dude. I want to see you shoot the takedown and ragdoll a guy with insane Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I want to see you survive those threatening submissions. I want to see you put Paul Craig out cold or submit him. It was a decent performance. But I don't think Bo is a top 10 guy at middleweight. Not in MMA. He is one of the best grapplers in the sport, but we're not talking about just grappling. This is mixed martial arts. And Bo is having these performances now back to back where you want to see more out of him. I want to see you go in there. You're a minus 1,300 favorite. You're the younger guy. I want to see you go out there and finish Paul Craig. Instead, you lull him to a boring striking decision with a guy that only's got a body kick. I don't know. Am I crazy, or did we want to see much more from Bo Nickel in this? Just really not overly impressed. I think Bo's seriously going to get better every single time he gets in the octagon, but this was one of those things where it's like, dude, I'm watching you do an interview saying you'll just ragdoll Khamzat. I don't think that. I think Khamzat murders him in the octagon, dude. I think Khamzat lays him out flat. I do. I don't think Bo beats Whittaker. I don't think Bo beats Caio Borralho. I don't think Bo beats Nasruddin Imavov. I don't think Bo beats Adesanya. Maybe Adesanya. We'll see how upset I get the next time Adesanya opens his mouth. I don't know. I just don't see him beating some of these guys. I don't see him beating the top 15 competition yet. Maybe one of the guys at the bottom. I think he can beat Shara, but if he doesn't get to the takedown, then it's over. Shara's going to knock him out, but Bo wins. Underwhelming decision. We're going to move on. Do Bronx. Charles Oliveira makes us happy again. Now, here's why. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to get a voice for you guys so I can keep running. Charles Oliveira looked very measured in this fight. Patient, waited, picking his shots, and I think that was working really well for him in the first round. He beat Chandler in rounds 1 through 4, and he was mixing things up very well in the sense that was outstriking Chandler by being very selective, landing good shots. Round 2, he had Chandler hurt and running for a bit. But then he also mixed in his takedowns and was able to transition to the back and, suplex Michael Chandler, drag him to the ground, then hold the back, but not get the finish, but still hold the back, so that way Chandler couldn't do anything and Oliveira was clearly winning. He had a moment where he was in full mount in round 2, and he should have just been laying elbows. I think he could have gotten the finish by just splitting Michael Chandler open and then rinse and repeat. Elbows, 12-6, elbows. But Chandler's very, very strong. If you give him any space, he will just explode to his feet. And I think Oliveira was trying to prevent that because he knew there was danger in Michael Chandler's power. But yeah, Oliveira looked fucking great for those first 4 rounds. Just beat Chandler up. Much better grappling. He was better in the striking. But round 5, it gets dicey. Michael Chandler just starts winging and then hurts Oliveira. Then misses a million different punches, but he still has Oliveira hurt. Gets to a dominant position and starts landing insane ground and pound. Now, when I say insane, I don't mean elite level ground and pound. It would have been elite level if he didn't pepper shots to the back of Charles Oliveira's head, which is incredibly illegal and should not be allowed. Michael Chandler's a dirty fighter. Very dirty fight. Don't forget the eye poke right after the punch. So he punched him in the eye, and then he did stick a finger in the eye after that no one wants to talk about. He grabbed the fence a bunch of times, and then he it was beating Charles Oliveira's back of his head. It's illegal. You can't do that. I don't know why it was allowed, but it is what it is. Charles Oliveira ends up getting the win. Keith Peterson stares there and watches it happen and do nothing. But Charles Oliveira won, man, and that's really what's important. Michael Chandler has this crazy call out at the end as if he deserves all these big fights after losing to Poirier, Oliveira twice, Gaethje. This guy's 2-4 in the UFC, and all he wants is the big fights, which, again, I'm okay with giving him big fights, but he's not getting a Max Holloway fight. He's not getting a Conor fight. He's not getting a Poirier fight. He can fight someone that is fun, but he needs to try and get a win before he can really get the big, big names. Don't want to watch a rematch against Dan Hooker. Thinking of Rafael Fiziev. I like Fiziev. I like that fight. A Gamrot fight honestly makes a lot of sense. Could be fun. He could get a knockout over Gamrot, or Gamrot could really prove how good he is. Those are the kind of fights that Michael Chandler gets. He's not getting the Max Holloway fight. He is a BMF, but he needs a win to go into a BMF title fight. And dare I say, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway sounds great for the BMF belt. But we're going to move on to the wife-beating PED cheat, who won with a very impressive finish. You know me. I'm a Jon Jones hater. Everything about this man I hate. Not a damn thing I like about him. He's a very good fighter. Is he the GOAT? Not mine. I'm still going to put GSP over him because he's natty. But, listen, you guys can come at me for that all you want, but, I bet you say the same thing about... If you're real hardcores, you know. But if you're the ones that only come around for Jon Jones, I ask you to just look at the TJ Dillashaw stuff when he was unanimously one of the best fighters in the sport. Popped once, admitted it, and everyone just hates him and says, can't consider his legacy, he popped once. But Jon Jones will pop 4 times and everyone will go, it doesn't matter, it's Jon Jones. Oh, you relate to him, why? Because he ran into a car or hit a pregnant lady with his car and then flee the scene, or because he beat his wife to a pulp in front of their kids? I just want to know which part of Jon Jones you really relate to. Or is it the part that when he does something bad, he says, but God's just testing me, and then he drags God into his mess? I don't like that. But anyway, Jon Jones, first round, dominates Stipe, gets the takedown, holds control, and just lands incredible ground and pound. This guy's... Dana said it, man, in the post-fight. His fight IQ is off the charts. Getting Stipe to the ground is not an easy feat. Even though Stipe was 42... Getting Stipe to the ground is not an easy feat. But then we get to round 2. Stipe's having moments in round 2. Now, I think Jones won round 2. Stipe's having some moments where he is literally landing better shots than Jon. But then Jon has a couple moments where he lands his jab, throws good body kicks, and you're like, okay, Jones wins this round, but it's not easy on him. And this is where we're seeing in round 2, we're like, dude, these guys are fucking old. They're slow. Jon gets laid out flat by Aspinall. He gets knocked out in a round by Tom Aspinall. Jones is much slower than Aspinall is at heavyweight. It's really as simple as that. He's a great fighter, and when he gets into the grappling, he's going to cause problems. Even though Aspinall is a great grappler, engaging in grappling with Jon Jones never fares well for anyone. But I'm looking at Stipe compete with Jon Jones on the feet, and going into round 3, Stipe's doing the same thing until the kick. He's competing with Jon Jones on the feet. Aspinall, it's not a competition when Aspinall strikes with Jon Jones. Aspinall's going in there, he's got the danger, and he's faster. He's stepping in and elbowing Jon Jones right in the head, and the second Jon Jones backs up, he's finishing with a hook on the outside that sets him down, and it's over. He's too fast for Jon Jones, but... Listen, Jon Jones beat Stipe. And he landed a sick body kick to do it. But, he looks slow. He does. Now, that's just my take on it. He had a great finish. This was a very good finish. It's one that's going to be one of the finishes of the year nominee. I already know it because it's Jon Jones. Do I think he deserves it? No. I think it should go to more of a guy like Ribovic, who left McKinney out flat in a sick 1-2 head kick. But this was a great finish. Good body kick, good spinning body kick. And it just shut Stipe's body off. Stipe's body's 42 years old. You can't take that kind of punishment and be okay after. So Stipe, he was down, he was out, he retired. Thank you for everything, Stipe Miocic. Jon Jones... The Trump dance was pretty funny, I'll give you that. But, yeah, dude, it's Aspinall or get the fuck out of here. And shout out to Dana for standing his base on that, because Dana could easily say, yeah, dude, the Pereira fight does make sense because it's a big fight. And it's dumb and it's going to piss everyone off. But Dana's recognizing, at the press conference, he recognized when people chanted Aspinall's name like crazy, and the crowd erupts the second his name gets mentioned. Dude, we have the biggest heavyweight fight of all time on our hands between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, and we want to see that happen. There's no Pereira fight coming for you. Jon, it's Aspinall or retire. Simple as that. Aspinall's going to knock him out if they fight. And I do think, as time continues to progress, I think Jon will take the fight. And I think Dana will get an insane number, but I think Jon's going to wait a bit. I think Jon's going to wait for Aspinall to go out there and lay out Gone flat faster than Jones beat him. And then it's going to be like, dude, what are you going to do? Aspinall just beat Gone quicker than you did, and you still did it in a round. What are we going to do here? Think he's going to wait till he has an excuse that he's now 38? I'm just taking the fight, but I got a ridiculous number, 50. He's going to get a $15 million fight or something like that. And it's going to be a massive fight, and we're all going to tune in and watch because we want Jon Jones to get knocked out, but it was a good win from Jon Jones. It really was. Hate the dude. Everything about him I hate. He's not my GOAT because he's a PED cheat, and people keep saying, like, how can you not agree that he's the GOAT? It's not because he doesn't have all the skills or the wins or the resume. He did lose to Reyes, but I'm not giving GOAT status to a dude that is popped for PEDs 4 times, and his best win, which was a knockout over Daniel Cormier, was overturned to a no contest because he popped for PEDs. His other most impressive win was a decision over DC, which was very impressive. Or a decision over Gus, which some people think Gus won, even though Jon won. Did Jon win? It was super close. Super, super close. But like Thiago Santos split decision, losing to Reyes in front of our eyes, popping for PEDs. I'm sorry, he's not my GOAT. He looked really good. Still good, especially for a 37-year-old, he looked good. But I'm not giving GOAT status to the PED abuser. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. It is what it is. It's my opinion. It's my take. You don't have to like it. You can call him the GOAT. I don't agree. My GOAT's GSP. But Jon Jones looked good on Saturday night. Very impressive win. It was a good win. Good finish. Aspinall knocks him out. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like and subscribe. If you don't, it's okay. We're allowed to disagree.